Are you wondering why you're not getting any job interviews? Well, it's probably because you're invisible to companies. But don't worry, in this video, I'm going to share with you how to fix that. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to share with you why you're not getting any job interviews and how you can address it. And first, I'd like to thank Hostinger for sponsoring this video. Probably the most common frustration I hear across all of my social media channels is that it is so difficult to get an interview. You can match the job description perfectly and you send over your application, and sure enough, you keep on getting rejected. The real reason why you're having difficulty, especially in today's market as I record this, is that you have a competition issue. In other words, where recruiters used to get 100 applicants for a particular job posting, now they're getting 500, 600, 700 applications. So the issue isn't necessarily that you're not qualified for the jobs that you're applying to and getting rejected from. The issue is that it's very difficult to get seen. So let's increase our visibility. The first thing, and you know I have to mention this, is it's your resume. The vast majority of those 1,000 applications that I referred to earlier are simply not getting seen because they don't fit the role very closely. And as unfortunate as it sounds, and as frustrating as I know this is for a lot of people, recruiters tend to only find less than 10% of people are actually qualified for the role. And honestly, it's probably less than that. Because the realistic nature of the job market is people are taking their shot. In other words, they're applying for jobs that they don't reasonably qualify for at all. And they're hoping for a Hail Mary and getting a phone call back. And inevitably, all they hear back is a rejection letter, if they even get that. So it goes without saying that it's crucially important that if you're a reasonably good fit for the job that you're applying to, you have to make sure that your resume clearly conveys that. And so few people actually do that it could be a very easy competitive advantage if you just take the time to actually customize your resume and make it match the jobs as closely as you can. Because if your resume doesn't convey a clear fit quickly, you only have 5 seconds to catch a recruiter's attention because there's so many applications. Again, it's a competition issue that you're dealing with. So a recruiter has maybe 20 different positions that they're applying for with 1,000 candidates in each bucket, and they're trying to find a slate of 4 to 5 candidates to get in front of the hiring manager as quickly as they can so that they can move on to the next role. It's kind of like playing hot potato. They're always keeping the balls juggling, and once a new job pops open, they're doing the same thing, trying to get those 5 candidates in so that they can have candidates constantly moving through the process. So if you want to increase your visibility with the inbound applications, you want to make sure that you're an early applicant and you're customizing your resume. And I know I sound like a broken record, but it's really so important to make sure that you take those extra steps because most people are not. The next reason that you're invisible to employers is that there's no way for them to find you besides your job application. For a vast majority of people that I speak to, their job search strategy consists of applying to jobs in a brute force method. But the cold reality is that a lot of jobs are not being filled by active applications. They either come through networks, employer referrals, or the recruiter is going out and sourcing the candidate. Because from a recruiter's perspective, they often have a very specific set of criteria that the hiring manager is requesting them to find. So therefore, recruiters often do sourcing at the same time to ensure that they've got the right candidate mix, because they can search by keyword and they can find the right candidates with the right keywords, the right skill sets that they're looking for, rather than hoping that somebody comes in through an online job application. So therefore, you want to increase your visibility by being in the places that recruiters are looking. LinkedIn is the obvious first choice. That's where most recruiters are going to do their sourcing. But recruiters don't just look on LinkedIn. They also look on Google and other repositories for candidates. So you want to get your name out to as many of them as you can. And personally, I use Boolean search extensively, especially for hard to fill positions like software developers that have a very niche skill set. We would often have to go off of LinkedIn and off of our ATS system to try to find the right candidates, so we would have to get creative. And that's why I recommend that you have an additional presence online to be found, whether it's a CV or a resume site, a simple website that kind of has an overview of who you are. It's an additional branding point that can help you really get across the finish line or convey your fit in a more effective manner. Or if you're a designer or you're somebody that has a creative portfolio, it's absolutely required. And I would say the same thing goes for software developers, where you can put a repository of code in, show the projects that you're actually working on. Instead of just having it be a line item on your resume, you can actually show your work and you can show the type of quality and some of the accomplishments that you've been able to produce. Furthermore, the employer likely is not going to have any idea of all the great things that you've accomplished just by looking at a resume for 5 seconds. And the best way to solve for this is to have a simple website set up somewhere or you can have a receptacle of your knowledge and your creativity. And I'll tell you, as a recruiter, every single time I see a website listed on top of a resume, I can't help but click on it. I just want to see who you are, a little bit more context of it. So I would absolutely recommend that you consider doing that if you want to increase your visibility to an employer. And that's why this partnership with Hostinger is a perfect fit for this exact reason. They've never been easier to start with their AI integrations. 4 clicks and you can have a website already ready to go. Not to mention tons of really great template sites that you can pull from. So you're not having to create something from scratch. You can just focus on getting the best and most marketable information about yourself on that website so that you can really show well to those employers. And with Hostinger, you get all these premium features for less. Free domain, a free personalized email address, 100 gigabytes of storage, 1-click installation. There's even a 30-day money-back guarantee. Hostinger makes it as easy as possible to come across very professionally. And if you find yourself needing an extra hand getting things set up, they've got super friendly 24-hour, 7-day-a-week support. So they'll help unstick you, and you don't really need to have that much of a technical background to set these up. And as an added bonus to make this even more enticing, Hostinger has very generously offered an additional 10% for all of my listeners. So make sure you use the code A Life After Layoff at checkout for an additional discount on all annual plans. And listen, for the price versus the quality and the time investment that you have to make, this is really a no-brainer. This is the perfect option if you want to get more visibility in your job search. And Hostinger offers everything that you need to get started with a great-looking portfolio site. So head over there and get started today. And all this stuff plays a part in this concept of personal branding. And I know that there are some people out there that have this aversion to the idea of personal branding. The reality is that every single one of us has a personal brand, whether you like it or not. If you're the person that comes into your office and is a wallflower and never talks to anybody, that's your personal brand. If you want to be somebody that's the best possible janitor who's whistling and giving out little nuggets of wisdom to all the people who walk by, that's your personal brand. If you want to be known as the most talented software developer in the entire company, that's your personal brand. Or if you want to be known as the person who always complains and takes the easy way out, that's your personal brand as well. We all have personal brands. The issue is that the outside world typically doesn't know what your personal brand is. And if I go into your LinkedIn profile, for example, and it's a completely blank slate, essentially you're completely invisible to the outside world. So if you want to increase your visibility and start getting discovered, you have to take your personal brand more seriously, and you have to show the employer who you really are and what problems you solve. Because almost everybody that I see who struggles with getting interviews, especially when they're super talented or they have a lot of experience, it's because they don't have any personal brand to speak of. And I really don't mean that to sound harsh, but that's the reality. Focus on building your personal brand if you want to be taken more seriously and get noticed by those employers. Next is kind of a method of brute force, and it's that you have to increase your volume of applications. I recently spoke to somebody who said that they had been in a job search for the last 3 or 4 months and they had only applied to like 80 or 90 positions. And in general, I'm a proponent of us focusing on quality over quantity, spending more time getting those custom resumes for those really high quality jobs. But there still has to be a balance between volume, the volume of applications that you're putting in, and the amount of time that you're spending on any one given role. Because on some level, it's still a numbers game. However, we don't want to be applying to 1,000 jobs and getting no responses. So make sure you're finding the right balance. And if you're not getting enough interviews, try applying a little bit more. But you still have to make sure that you're applying to the right kind of jobs. Just sending out your resume to a bunch of unrelated positions where you maybe only match 5 or 10 or 15% of a job posting is not going to do you any good. In fact, the only thing that's good for is just getting a bunch more rejection letters. I don't really like receiving rejection letters. It's not great for my mental health. So I want to find the right balance of, do I reasonably qualify for this role, and what's the amount of applications that I need to be putting in? And I have to find the happy balance there. Try to find enough jobs to apply to, but make sure that they're the right ones. We don't want to just throw mud up against the wall and see what sticks. So those are some things that you can do to increase your visibility in the workplace. And again, being an active job seeker in a challenging labor market means you're going to be up against some stiffer competition, and you really need to get a competitive advantage. If you need more help with your job search and doing any things that I spoke about in today's video, make sure you check out some of the resources that I've got. The first one is how to write a resume. Again, you only have that 5 seconds. So we want to make sure that our resume is hitting on all cylinders and it's customized and targeted to those roles. I actually created a course that teaches you exactly how to do that, and it's called Resume Rocketfuel. And I also include templates, and it's very easy to follow along. I go step by step, and I actually write my own resume at the same time, so you get a very clear picture of how to do it yourself. It's not nearly as intimidating as you think it might be if you've got the right resources. And if you want to get get those recruiters to start noticing you on LinkedIn, you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized the correct way. But there's ways to skip the recruiter altogether, and I cover all of that in Unlocking LinkedIn. So those are the two major things to get more visibility in your job search. So if you're struggling, I highly encourage you to check those out. Anyway, hopefully this video gives those of you who are in an active job search more ideas on how to increase your visibility so that you can finally get the phone to ring and hopefully end up with a job offer at the end. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.